And we're back with another GPS helicopter. Now, GPS helis have definitely been stealing the show for good reason. They're extremely easy to fly, and just about anybody from like 3 years old, under supervision, to somebody in their 90s could probably fly one of these and be successful at it. Now, I've had a lot of them, and I will say that this one is probably going to be the easiest one to see because the color scheme is absolutely beautiful. This is the FlyWing Bell 206. Now, it's very similar to the Airwolf that I've flown and the Huey that I've flown. As I said, just a different scheme, man. Now, the Airwolf, which I like that they improved on this because this is the version 3. The Airwolf, you had to glue on this piece right here. This one's actually screwed on, and it came that way. I didn't have to assemble it. So, big plus there. Now, these do come ready to fly. The only thing you have to do when you take it out of the box is install the main rotor blades. Everything else is done for you. Comes with the remote. It comes with a 3,000 milliamp. What is that? 4S pack. We have instructions. We have a little charger, and we have a programming cable, which I'm going to talk about in 1 second. So, real quick, let's just open this thing up. Go over, what it has inside. So right off the bat, you're going to see you have a receiver, but there's only one wire going into it. The other wire plugs into the flight controller, which then plugs into the GPS. Now, both of these actually act as GPS, so it's almost like dual redundancy. If one of them loses signal, you're not completely losing your GPS signal. Big plus there. The frame, I don't know if you can notice on camera, is all carbon fiber. Our swash plate and main rotor is metal. Now, these up top are plastic. The dog bones are plastic. They do that in case you crash. You much rather replace one of these than have to rip apart your whole swash plate. So smart on their half to do that. We do have a brushless main motor and brushless tail motor. Direct drive, big plus there. We don't have to worry about snapping a belt. So all in, man, FlyWing, they're just doing real good things with these. Now, back to the programming cable. I haven't messed with this yet. But you plug it directly into the flight controller, and you could do some pretty cool stuff. You could program, like, instead of going automatic circle, which I'm going to go into while we're flying, you could do a reverse circle. You could also have it, right now it comes in, like, it's not low power mode, but it's not sport mode. So you can upgrade to sport mode, which the Airwolf comes in. But in my opinion, a helicopter like this, I think that they send it just the way it should be flown, because on this little battery, they're saying you're going to get 20 minutes of flight time. Let's be real here, probably 12 to 13, but still, that's pretty good on a 3,000 milliamp. So let's get this battery in. Let's get this thing in my backyard. Now, in order to turn the remote on, you hit both of these power buttons, and you're going to hear a lot of beeping. That's because you need all switches in the up position. Now, as soon as the remote turns on, in good practice, put it back to GPS mode. Make sure that this switch is in the stop position. You don't want it in the run. So back to stop, normal, GPS, and this switch is actually not used, so it really does not matter. Now, the battery goes in pretty easy. I'm also going to add this. I've never really shown one of these on camera, but I'm getting a lot of people complaining. This is remote ID, standalone unit. It's kind of light. It could go in anything. I'm holding it this way because I don't want you guys to see my serial number, because then you can look up my flight paths. But yeah, so you can put this thing anywhere. Again, I don't like to show this. A lot of people hate remote ID. Some people get mad that I don't use remote ID, but I actually do, so I will be putting this in. So I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to put the battery in, and yeah, we'll get this thing in the backyard. Now, you guys see this light right here blinking? That's going to be our, it's going to tell us what mode we're in. So when I'm in GPS mode, you're going to see a blinking yellow. I have to bring this thing outside. As soon as it turns green, that means we have full GPS signal. Return to home, it's going to be purple, and in 3D mode, it's going to be blue. So I didn't actually know that color. Happy to see that in blue. So that right there, if you, don't want to look at the remote, that will always tell you what mode you're in. So I'm going to go back to GPS mode. We're going to wait for that to turn green, and then we're ready to take off. So we're outside. We're ready to go. Inside on the helicopter, as you see there, we do have a green light. We're in the stop position. So I'm going to hold both of these sticks out for about 5 seconds. Then I'm going to switch this to run. The tail rotor spools up first, then the main rotors. Wait for full RPM, and then we're going to take off. Takes a second, so maybe like, 10 seconds or so to get full RPM. And once we're spooled up, I'm going to hit this left stick up slightly, so we get a nice scale takeoff. Now let me get it away from my camera woman. And we're flying a GPS helicopter. This thing is big. And if you've never flown a heli, it could be a little bit intimidating, but I promise you it is just as easy as flying a drone. And if you're flying a drone line of sight, the helicopter is actually easier because of orientation. Now, the Huey and that Airwolf are definitely top-tier helicopters, too. This is just going to be a little bit easier to see because of that scheme. And of the three, I got to be honest, this is probably my favorite one. I actually crashed that Airwolf helicopter, which I'll explain in the video itself, so stay tuned for that. But guys, if you are nervous to fly a helicopter, GPS is definitely the way to go. What happens is, it's going to hold its position. So even if it's windy out, it's going to stay exactly where it is. Now, if you notice my left stick, that's the collective stick, so that's what goes up and down. It's naturally centered, so if you let go at any time, it automatically centers, and the helicopter is going to hold its position. Same thing with going forward or backwards. So you go forward, you let go, it's going to stop and hold its position. Now, what that's good for is if you guys are flying around, you're nervous, you don't know what's going on, you let go. Look at that, the helicopter stops, and it's going to fly itself. Once that GPS locks in, that's where it stays. Now, even if the wind blows, it's going to sit there and fight. So I'm going to show you guys in a second with a leaf blower. Now, there are automatic flight modes, right? So I'm going to fly around nice and low. This is me flying it. But what's super cool is I'm going to bring it really low for this. So let's go like right there. If I hit that switch from normal to 0, this helicopter is going to fly this pattern indefinitely until I make it stop. So that is definitely a cool function. We're getting pretty close here. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. But that's where it's going to fly. I don't have to worry about it coming out of the pattern. As long as that switch says 0, that helicopter is going to fly that mode. Now in a second, I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to let it do one more pass. See how close it gets to it. It's very cool. Now I'm shutting it off. I have control. I'm going to go a little further out, and we're going to put it in figure 8 mode. So hit the switch down, and the helicopter is going to fly a figure 8 pattern. Now, why am I doing it this low to the floor? Listen, you could do this at any altitude. I'm doing it this low to the floor to showcase how locked in that GPS is, right? It's so low to the floor, but I'm not worried about this thing losing any altitude and hitting the grass. So it really is dialed in. The GPS in this helicopter, or the FlyWing Helis in general, are a lot better than other helicopters out there. I haven't had an issue with it yet. Like I said, that setup the way it is pretty much dual redundancy, so it's definitely cool. Now let's shut that off. I'm going back to normal. I have full control of this helicopter, and I'm going to show you guys full speed of everything. So let it stop. Now I'm going to go full left rudder. When I stop, it stops. Full right rudder. Do 2 passes here. When I stop, helicopter stops. Full forward, stop, let it stop. Full backwards. We're going to go full left and full right. Now, even though it's not in sport mode, it has plenty of control, right? I'm able to do some pretty cool stuff and get some pretty good speed out of it. The one thing that sport mode is going to increase is going to be that head speed. So essentially right here, I'm going full up. If I was in sport mode, that climb out would be a lot more intense, and bringing it down, same thing, it would be a lot more intense. But in this mode, you're going to get the longest flight times, and in my opinion, it's pretty good, man. You don't have to worry, about your battery time, and again, it has plenty of control. Now, flying a heli this size in a backyard this small, pretty good, man. And to be honest, if you're just hovering around trying to learn orientation, you could fly it in even smaller of a space. Now, I want to show you guys one thing that I really like. Shot back up. I'm going to land it on the pavers. Show you how to land this thing. Now, normally when you land helicopters like this, they shut themselves off. But what I like about this, look, I'm bringing the sticks down, letting it land, and it's going to stay spooled up, right? Ready for takeoff. So for me, that's super cool. You can land in and look at it, get it back up. Now, there's 2 things I want to do. The first, I want to showcase, I'm putting the remote down. So, Shah, here, look. You want to show? The remote's going down. I'm going to grab my fancy leaf blower here, and I'm going to mimic wind a little bit, right? Now, again, the helicopter should move, but it should be a lot more stable than something else. Don't do this. And when you let go, it's going to hold its position. Ah, that's full power. I'm full. And just so you know, I was using it. Now, the second thing I want to show you guys is I'm going to fly this thing. I'm going to go pretty high, fly away a little bit, because it does, like a typical drone, it has return to home. So let's get this thing up. Let's go right about there. I'm going to tell you a funny story while this thing's coming in. So I'm hitting the switch to return to home. Now the helicopter should turn itself. I'm not touching the sticks at all. Now what happens is if you lose battery or you have low battery, this is automatically going to come home. If you lose signal, it's automatically going to come home. Now it's not going to ever land exactly where you took off, but it should land fairly close. Now my buddy Matt, who's actually my accountant, was flying one of these. He went too far, he lost signal, he couldn't see it. He thought he hit return to home, it wasn't working. So he actually shut his remote off, and the helicopter ended up flying back home and landing itself. He was in his house, he didn't even realize. So things are pretty advanced. Now let me see where we're landing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cancel that. But I mean, as you can see, it's pretty close. I would say within, what is that, 4 feet of where I took off. I think it's gonna land on a lounge chest. Yep, so I canceled that. But as you can see, it would have landed. All right, let's see. I'm going to hit home again, so let's see if it lands. So if you're low and you hit return to home, it's going to climb to a safe altitude so it doesn't hit anything, and then it's going to attempt to land again. So that's very cool. Now what happens when this thing lands itself is it actually fully shuts itself off. So, you know, if you guys are nervous or, you know, there's an emergency on the ground and you have to go tend to something, hit return to home and you don't have to do anything. That helicopter is going to come and land itself. Now I get a lot of people popping in the comments like, you know, these things are overpriced, you're better off getting a drone. Look, I understand the price point is something that people worry about. I myself have a DJI drone, right? And I enjoy the DJI drone. But that is, you know, essentially a thing that you're flying for the camera. These helicopters are line of sight. There is nothing better than looking at a helicopter like this, and it's as simple to fly as a drone. So big plus for me, man. These things are gonna, you know, have a big score for me. I have no dilemma in you guys. You know, if you think a drone is better fit for your budget, not a helicopter, then you got to do what you guys enjoy, man. I enjoy all things radio controlled: helicopters, airplanes, drone. Like I said, I have a DJI drone myself. You won't see me flying it around low in my backyard like this. To me, it's not that fun. I'd much rather see a helicopter. But if I'm trying to fly away and, you know, get some good aerial shots with the camera, then yeah, the DJI drone is definitely what I'm bringing out. But yeah, guys, these FlyWing helicopters are top tier. This one, the Bell 206, super scale, super easy to see. I think they did a great job on this one. How long have we been in the air, do you know? 8 minutes, 37 seconds. So we put some time on it. I have a voltmeter too. We're going to check it as soon as I bring this thing in for a land. So yeah, I touched on the auto flight. I touched on the power. I touched on the return to home, which I wish it would actually come in, but it wants to land on my lounge chairs, which I don't feel like kicking out of the way right now. But guys, just super cool, man. If these are, you know, if your budget allows you to get a GPS helicopter, I highly advise you to do so. These remotes also can, they're programmable, so you could use them on other things with, I forget which receiver it is. I want to say it's radio. It's, I got to check inside. But so if you know, buy one of these, and let's say you crash the helicopter and you want to use this remote on something else, you just buy something that's plug and play, and you have a remote already. Now you're probably like, dude, you've been in the air a long time, you should land. Well, what happens is if the battery goes too low, this thing is automatically going to return to home. I don't have to worry about it falling out of the sky, so that's a big plus. But let's bring it in for a land. We'll check that battery. Now to land it, same thing. I landed it before. I'm going to bring it in. And the only different thing I'm going to do is turn that run switch to stop. I'm going to spool down. And that's it. All right, so we were in the air for 10 minutes. Now, like I said, they they say you could fly this thing for up to 20 minutes. I think that's a little crazy, but we're about to find out. What do we got? 50%, 3.85. So yeah, you probably could have got another on this pack safely. I mean, safely, I run my packs at 3.8, 3.75. So I'm going to say another 2 to 3 minutes on this. If you're going to low voltage, probably to where this thing's going to fly home, I guess probably around 3.45. They have a program to come home, because at 3.3, there's a good chance this thing's going to fall out of the sky. You'll probably get 15 to 17. Now, it is cold. It's like 28 degrees, so this will discharge a little better in the warm weather. So that might have something to do with it, but hey, I don't think they're that far off, 10 minutes, and I still got some juice left. So all in, yeah, Very cool. And the thing is pretty big, so I think you could, you know, the battery can't get any longer because it won't fit. Maybe a little longer. But if you get one a little fatter or a little higher, you could probably run a 5,000, and that'll definitely get you to that 20-minute mark. I'm going blind. I can't see. All right. That's what I really like about these, aside from like other smart helicopters. These have universal batteries. So that's just the XT60 connector. So that's very cool. You guys could buy more packs, name brand packs if you don't want to run FlyWing. You know, you get SMC or whatever packs you guys use. So yeah, man, all in. I love these scale helicopters. I love the fact that they have GPS. It enables people that aren't that good at flying, like myself, to fly these things in the comfort of my own home. So with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time.